What's up, me wizards? It's Dev from Mtg. We like it in Magic. And first things first, congratulations go out to Autumn Burchett, your Mythic Championship champion. That sounds weird. Pro Tour champion, Autumn Burchett on Mono Blue Aggro. But, you know, you've spent all weekend looking at top tier meta decks, coverage of decks you'll never be able to afford, except for, ironically, Mono Blue Tempo. The deck's actually pretty cheap, but I kind of consider it my duty, my responsibility around here, to round out your Pro Tour weekend with a really wonky, super cheap deck. So today, let's look at $5 Infinite Battlements. This one goes out to the Spearfish High School Gaming Club. I know you guys like when I do the super cheap stuff, so here's an infinite combo for you. That's right, $5 for an infinite combo deck. It's not a bad deal at all. And the whole shebang starts with 4 copies of the big bad Bantha-like B. Arthur Behemoth. Battlements. Lumbering Battlement is actually not a bad deal in and of itself. 5 mana for a 4/5. Not terrible stats. You throw the Vigilance on there, you're starting to look pretty good. But if you got a couple of dudes that can ride the Behemoth, then things start getting interesting. This thing's power can get to 8 really fast. Just put 2 creatures up under it, and then if it does die, those creatures come back, so you get to re-trigger any of the battlefield effect. Pretty nifty, but the real fun starts if you're actually able to get 3 different copies of Battlement onto the battlefield. You see, let's say we have a Battlement on the field, and we play a second Lumbering Battlement. Well, we put the first one right up under that one. Let the Battlement ride on top of the Battlement. It's hilarious flavor. But you play a third Lumbering Battlement, you put that second Lumbering Battlement up under the third one, at which point the first one pops out. So you can just start chaining them infinitely, because when the first Lumbering Battlements comes back out, you can have it exile the third one, which brings the second one back out, and that will exile the first one. And you see where I'm going with this? You can just keep looping Battlements over and over. But if you have kind of any other creatures on the battlefield during this process, you can loop them infinitely too, and basically get infinite into the battlefield triggers off of them. Pretty easy to get hype over, but don't get crazy yet. Obviously, the problem here is that we have to get 3 out of our 4 Lumbering Battlements onto the field, right? That's pretty tough. Well, actually, hold on there. We only have to get 3 out of our 8 Battlements onto the field, because we're also playing Mirror Image in the deck. This is the only clone effect in this color combination we can actually use, although if you wanted to go Jeskai, you could use Protean Raider. Shout out to Patreon member Warlock for pointing that out to me. I hadn't thought of that. That's actually pretty cool. But it turns out that we can't use stuff like Quasi-Duplicate or Replicate, because we can't have token versions of Battlement out. Obviously, when you exile a token, it's gone forever. It won't be coming back. So we actually need hard copies of extra Battlements, and Mirror Image is the easiest way of getting them. I do have to point out that sometimes playing an early Mirror Image can lead to the fastest wins in the deck. You play a 2-drop with an Enter the Battlefield trigger on turn 2, turn 3 Mirror Image. Turn 5, you'll put both of those up under a Battlement, and then on turn 6, if you cast your second Battlement, you've essentially won the game. So that's the fastest way the deck can win, is actually by playing Mirror Image before you play your first Battlements. So it is possible, but for the most part, again, I like to save these until I've got the combo in hand. But how do we actually win a game? You know, we went all the way and we actually pulled the combo off. How are we winning? Well, we've got a couple of different creatures in the deck with Enter the Battlefield triggers that basically just lead to free wins. We've got Wall of Lost Thoughts and Aviation Pioneer in here. Now, it may look weird not to play 4 copies of both of these, considering there are win conditions, but we're not going to go off with Battlements until very late in the game anyway, if we ever actually do. So we've got plenty of time to find 1, if not 2 of these, plus lots of different ways to fish for cards in the deck, and even a way of effectively drawing infinite cards in the middle of a Battlement loop, so that if we need to find a win condition, we absolutely can, and then restart the loop next turn with a Mirror Image or something. So it's not too hard at all to find one of these win conditions, and they're not great cards on their own. That said, Wall of Lost Thoughts is not a bad speed bump in the early game against these aggro decks, because it effectively blocks everything, and Aviation Pioneer is 2 bodies on the battlefield. That'll help you go wide, give you a little bit more blocking power against these aggro decks, so you can extend the game to the point you can actually get to the combo. And the Thopter is more or less a completely free chump blocker the first time you play Pioneer. So even though they're not the best cards in the world, they are basically our win conditions, and they can block if we need them to. But the rest of the deck is basically just dedicated to finding the different pieces of the combo in different ways. So we'll start with Opt, because that's an obvious one. Basically, decks with Opt, especially combo decks, get to just play 56 cards. You know what I mean? Like, Opt is only 1 mana, and it really, really helps you find different pieces that you need. Even if it only digs 1 card, that for a 1 mana investment is a steal. So I feel like Opt is a definite must play. But we're also going to play 4 copies of Shimmer of Possibility to give us just that, of actually getting the combo. At least a shimmer of possibility that we find 3 battlements over the game. A 4-card dig is actually pretty stupid deep, and this can find anything. If we don't need a battlements, we can pick up a Wall of Lost Thoughts, Aviation Pioneer, Mirror Image, or maybe just a spell, a non-creature spell that we might need at that point in the game. So Shimmer of Possibility, actually not a bad turn 2 play to make sure you can stack your combo together. I'm also working in a couple of copies of Omen Speaker here. It was 4 at first, but I'm not actually convinced you need this card. If you wanted play sets of the win condition cards, you could just do that. Take out Omen Speaker and make those, 4-ofs. But honestly, I still feel like I've got a little love in my heart for Omen Speaker. This allows you to scry infinitely, something, in the middle of a combo. But in the early game, this will help you find scry into your combo pieces. And it holds down the fort okay in the early game too. But we got to fill out the 4-drop slot here. And for that, I'm going to go to one of my old standbys, my go-to, Riverwise Augur. Card sees no play outside of this channel. Put it into like 3 different decks now. I like a brainstorm on a stick sometimes. And if for whatever reason we haven't found Battlement 1 by turn 4, this will very likely help us draw into one. Also, this is sometimes like better than Shimmer of Possibility in a lot of situations, because if you actually do happen to get like 2 battlements or battlements and a mirror image in that 3 cards, then you don't have to put one of them on the bottom of your library, and that's pretty sweet too. And if you actually do get the battlements combo going, then you basically get to draw your deck until you're satisfied with what's in your hand. You can restart the combo again if you've got the mana, or next turn you can restart the combo, or you can just add Sailor of Means to the deck if you want infinite mana. You could do that as well. I'll let you restart the combo on the same turn if you want to, but basically drawing your entire deck is a good thing to be able to do as well. And again, +2/+2 to Lumbering Battlements, if absolutely nothing else. But you know what we need, baby? Little baby, we need some removal. Some removal. If we're ever going to get to the point in the game where we actually launch this combo off, we need to try and sort of keep the other side of the board relatively clear. You are so squirmy. You squirmy little kitty. So let's play 4 copies of Exclusion Mage to start things off, because I like when my removal comes on a stick. That might be all the kidding that you get in this video. She is just not having it. She might be back. Who knows? She's at my foot right now. Smelling it? You don't want to smell my foot. But in any event. Yeah. Exclusion Mage. I was just watching Saffron Olive the other day play the black-white version of this deck, and he had to lean heavily on stuff like Plague Crafter, Ravenous Chupacabra. Those cards were very, very effective in the games I saw him play. It makes plenty of sense. Creatures that are basically removal are exactly where you want to be in this deck, because not only do you get that ETB trigger the first time you play them, but you put them up under your battlements, and if your opponent kills the battlements, well, they kind of lose a creature. Obviously, Exclusion Mage isn't as effective as a creature like Chupacabra would be for those purposes, but we're kind of working with what we got here in this color combination, and Exclusion Mage is definitely the best. At the very least, it'll keep a creature off of your back for a turn or two while you are trying to get battlements, and it'll make your opponent sweat a little bit about actually popping a battlements. So, lots to like about Exclusion Mage. Definitely going to play that card, but I'm also playing 4 copies of Sky Tether in the deck. Skies to Plowshares might not be a creature, but it's still maybe the most effective removal we could actually play in this deck. Just one mana is all it takes to just lock down a creature forever. Nothing wrong with that. I mean, we're going to win off of infinite mills anyway, so we might literally never attack. But we could just win off of infinite Thopters too, in which case we don't care about their one guy that can block. So this might as well just be removal that lets us never care about a creature again, so long as they don't give a Vivian Reed or something. For just 1 mana. It's crazy. Like, that'll lock down all kinds of stuff and actually gives you access to like really sweet early game plays against mono blue, Oh, nice Curious Obsession on that Terramander. Here's a Sky Tether. You didn't leave enough mana to spell pierce that. Why didn't you? Because it's turn 2. Like, I see, like, there's a lot of good applications for this card in this format right now. And even though this deck is not like a world ender or anything, I will use this opportunity to say that maybe we should be looking at Sky Tether, because this thing is 1 mana removal effectively. She came back. Talk about the lands. Look at all those lands. You're looking over there somewhere. Anyway, pretty simple here. We're playing 24. We have 16 white sources and 14 blue sources. Let me put the baby over here. And you could jazz this up if you wanted to. It'd be pretty easy. You got Hallowed Fountains or Glacial Fortresses lying around. By all means, slot them in. But this works pretty well. You know, we got 10 islands to turn 1 opt if we absolutely have to. And we've even got a fair amount of white sources to get Sky Tether on turn 1 on the draw if we absolutely have to. But here's the sideboard. It's fairly obvious here. You know, we got to play 4 negate. We're in blue. We'll do that, you know. Not only do we want to counter spells and stuff like that, but we want to counter removal against Lumbering Battlements some of the time, or against Mirror Image, against a win condition creature. So lots of reasons why you might want negate. You could work it into the main deck, but most of the rest of this is to deal with aggro decks. Now, you might think our worst matchup is control, but actually, we just get run over by aggro. You know, we have a pretty long game plan, and we're kind of plodding along until we get to it, so we just get run over some of the time. So let's not get bulldozed and play 3 copies of Baffling In to add to our removal suite, plus 4 copies of Impassioned Orator to swap out with Omen Speaker, and other early game stuff like Shimmer of Possibility. It's going to be a lot more likely that we want to hang on rather than find the combo as quickly as possible. So Impassioned Orator and Shieldmare will come in that matchup. Both of these are great. You know, obviously they gain you life on ETB, but they also both mean that you can gain infinite life if you get your Lumbering Battlements combo off. And here are your rankings of power right here. 50 is your final score. That's the lowest score of the season, and maybe one of the lowest scores ever, but it's a $5 deck. What do you expect? That's $1 a point. Not so bad. But obviously what the deck lacks in important measurable categories, it makes up for in memeability and wombo-ness. So, you know, this is all about just pulling the combo off one time. Man, you cats just don't want nothing to do with me today. Oh, there he goes. There he goes. Actually, it's because the kitten's over here in a box. And he's like staring at the kitten. He wants to know what she's up to. But they actually kind of can't be around each other because he's a jerk around her. I think he feels really threatened by her. But I'll always love you, bub. He's walking over there now. But in any case, this deck doesn't do super well in a lot of important categories. But again, this whole deck is just about pulling it off. And for that, you gotta love it. You know, I know that there's a lot of really shoestring budget broke Magic players out there. You get together for a game night every week or two, maybe once a month with your buddies, you know. Or maybe you play at the lunch table or the kitchen table, you know, you have sleepovers on the weekend or something. You get together every now and again, you play what Magic you can. And this deck is for you. I know you don't have more than $5 or $10 to spend on a deck a lot of the time. You know, 20 at the absolute most. So, again, I know that this isn't going to take you to the top of the Mythic Championship or anything, but I'm fully aware of that. But for those looking for a fun deck that allows them to put together a possible infinite combo on the lowest possible of budgets, this one's for you. And if you did want to put it together, just click the first link in the description below me, and that'll take you over to tcjplayer.com. They sponsor my content, and they're where you're going to get this deck for the cheapest. Don't overpay, even for a really cheap deck. You know, not counting the price of basic lands. I'll make that caveat, because I assume you've got islands and plains just laying around somewhere. Maybe not, but I hope you do. This deck is only a little over $5. I cheated slightly. It's like $5.50, $5.25, something like that. But it's right at about $5 to make this deck right now. And again, kind of a steal. So click the link in the description, help your brother out. She came back. Let's see how long she stays with me. She's being real sweet right now because she's a sweetie with her big sad blue eyes. Oh, what a baby. Oh, she's getting up. She's getting up in just a second. But anyway, this is Waverly, if you haven't been introduced yet. That's Waverly right there. But in any event, I'm pretty sure that is it for this one. So do all the YouTube stuff if you would. Like, if only for the fact that I'm giving you premium kitten content right here. But give me a like if you possibly can. Share the video if you want to make sure that everyone knows about this ridiculous $5 infinite combo. Should be the kind of thing that you share around. And also subscribe if you haven't done that yet for more weird content like this. Hit the bell for the notifications. And throw $1 a month at Patreon if you possibly can. Sign up. $1 membership every month is all I ask of you. And that'll let you vote on what decks you want to see next. And I'll let you know what we're doing 24 hours in advance. So pretty good value for $1 a month. I try to do what I can for you. But I think that's it for now. So I suppose I'll catch you cats later. I'm Deb from The Place. Thanks for watching, my wizards. Spread love and be kind.